everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to Banterly, a podcast about media and pop culture through the eyes of Gen Z. That's us.
That's us.
Aditi.
Me and you. And Aidan.
Aidan.
I am Aidan. It's like a college seminar with your friends. Just a bit of intellectual riffing before we dive into the gossip and, have some good banter.
Have some good banter. And I'm sure, you've all done the readings already.
Yeah. This is the class that you always do the readings for. Because
Exactly.
it's the fun stuff. It's the pop culture.
Yeah. Each episode, we're going to start off with a fun little question of the day.
Didn't know.
Our question of today
Is, what celebrity are you overly obsessed with? Do you want to start? Because my answer will take all day.
Yeah. So my answer for this is John Mulaney. I don't know if people have kind of gathered this from the way I speak already. I get told a lot that I have a cadence that's similar to John Mulaney. I don't know which one came first. John Mulaney came first is the answer to that.
Yes.
I have been deeply obsessed with him for a long time. He is a source of inspiration for a lot of my comedy style. I think his storytelling technique is deeply
When people order fries, they act like it's a little adventure. They'll be like, should we get a plate of fries for the table? Should we do it? Should we share some fries? They gotta make sure that...
His writing on SNL was always fantastic. He's always my favorite host. So I've been following his stand-up for a long time, and I grew attached to his personal life as well, as many of us do.
Isn't he married to Olivia Munn?
Okay, so this is what we're about to get into, right? Because people... Look, anytime John Mulaney news breaks...
Olivia Munn and John Mulaney have become the latest odd celebrity couple to perplex the public. And if their pairing wasn't already...
I get a stream of text messages from my friends like, are you okay? And I'm like, he doesn't know who I am. The biggest example of this was in 2020. It was during the pandemic, so I was stuck at home. And it was when he went into rehab, and I just remember I got 10 texts in the span of a few minutes. Hey, did you hear? And I literally, I think I was actively in class. I had to stop. I turned off my camera and just sat in bed. It was just something so emotional. I developed a connection to him that, I don't know, I care for him.
It transcends just a normal celebrity crush.
Yeah.
It's more than just a liking. It's like a deep connection.
It's a deep connection. And, so he got out of rehab. And got a divorce, which a lot of people were upset about. Look, this is a controversial topic, because people were like, oh, but he cheated on Anna Marie Tendler with Olivia Munn. I don't believe that. We don't really know the timeline. Did he have a kid after doing extensive bits in his stand-up about not having kids? Yeah. Anyway, he's a complicated person. I've seen him perform multiple times, and I love him a lot.
Amazing. Have you ever met him?
Oh, I wish. I don't know what I would do if I...
They always say don't meet your icons, though.
Yeah, well,
ruins it.
So I actually met Bo Burnham at John Mulaney's show, and I had a great conversation with him, told him he was a big inspiration to me, and that was a beautiful moment. We did bits together at a place called Chicken and Things. We made jokes about chicken and things. He probably doesn't remember this, Bo Burnham, if you remember. This is the best moment of my life, was that day. What about you? What's yours?
If you know me, you know that I love Diana Agron. Do you know who Diana Agron is? Most people may not, but to me, she's a household name, even though literally she's not. Obviously, she's a lot less famous than John Mulaney, but if you don't know her, you've probably seen her on that hit Fox TV show Glee that aired.
We love Glee.
All I want is just one day a year where I'm not visually assaulted by uglies and fatties.
Tell that Quinn girl not to back.
It was a wonderful show. It's my favorite show, and Diana played the head cheerleader Quinn Fabray, the mean girl turned sort of nice girl, turned girl in a wheelchair for a little bit, turned Yale.
I always forget about that.
Yale student. So she is really, the character arc is amazing. But I love Diana as a person. I don't want to get into it too much because I don't want to seem like a creepy person. I've watched probably every single one of her movies. She's been doing a lot of independent films since Glee Wrapped. But I've met her 3 times.
You've met her?
Yes.
Wait, that's how? Where?
She had a residency at the Cafe Carlisle on the Upper East Side. And for my high school graduation present, my mom and I went, and my mom told the hotel, because we stayed at the Carlisle, why we were there. And then during the middle of her show, she like pointed out to the audience, and then we talked. She pointed out to the audience that I was there. It was my present, blah, blah, blah. Like, congratulations. And then we talked for a little bit after.
You?
Yeah, every time I've seen her, she remembers me.
Whoa. This is insane.
I love her. But I definitely...
This is a real connection. I'm talking about a parasocial relationship. You have a real relationship.
I used to do on my Finsta like Diana Agron updates, where I would just, in high school, like just random things about her personal life, her life.
I love that. Demois, but it's only Diana Agron.
It's only Diana Agron. But Diana Agron's on Demois a lot because she's a New York City mainstay. She's in the social scene, she's in the fashion scene, but she's doing great things. If you haven't seen any of her work recently, stream Shiva Baby.
I love Shiva Baby.
Shiva Baby's
one of my
amazing.
favorite movies.
Danielle! Danielle!
Please, Sonia!
Maura's here, and her daughter Stephanie.
Jessica.
Whatever. You should
Clock,
really
a horror
talk to
movie
her.
on Hulu, and The Chosen One on Netflix.
And John Mulaney's Baby J is also out on Netflix.
We're just plugging these people.
Yeah.
I should go into PR later on.
Absolutely.
But kind of on the topic of like celebrities, the definition of celebrities has kind of changed. Before it was just like, oh, you're an actor, you're a singer.
Right.
But now people are just famous for being famous.
Right, exactly.
From reality TV.
It's crazy the kind of pipeline from being on a reality show to becoming like an influencer and someone who's heavily followed. Like for just being you, like not for a specific trade. And in this scenario, trade is like acting, music, whatever. So it's really fascinating. Before we get into this episode's topic, which is reality TV, if we didn't make that clear, Aidan, what are your thoughts and feelings about reality TV? Because people are on like a wide spectrum of opinions on this. Yeah. So where do you stand on that?
I love reality TV, specific genres.
Okay.
One of my favorite shows is The Real Housewives. I'll watch almost every city. I love $1 Million Listing. I love Selling Sunset. Like I love shows focused about either actual wealthy people or people who appear to be wealthy.
Right, yeah.
Because it's just like, that's why I got into it. I was like, I want to look at what they're wearing. I want to look at where they live, what cars they have, because that's what I was interested in. And that's how I kind of got into it. But I stayed for the drama, of course. What I don't love in terms of reality TV is love. I don't like watching shows about love. I don't like The Bachelor. I don't like all those Netflix love competition shows, Love Island.
Okay.
Sorry, just vomited in my mouth.
Whoa. That's fun to learn because this episode we're going to be talking about the love reality TV shows. Aidan's going to love it, guys.
I will love. Maybe by the end of the episode I'll be switched over.
I want to get into this because I don't really watch the shows you listed. I had an HGTV phase growing up, if that can be part of it. I have friends who are so obsessed with like the Real Housewives, the enterprise that it is. I never watched any of that. I didn't watch Selling Sunset, but I did watch Selling Tampa because I'm from Tampa, but not that part of Tampa. I wish. It's the best part. The only good part. Kidding. I love Tampa. Tampa, if you're listening, I love you. I love reality TV. Love Island UK is one of my favorite shows. I don't even know how to explain what it is I really like about it.
It's like watching an unscripted romantic comedy. You're watching hot young singles fall in love.
I'm a hopeless romantic, so when I heard about Love Island, I was like, this is me. It's literally like a summer to try to find that person.
It all takes place in an aspirational villa where people looking for love gather. They pair up, they may break up, new people are consistently entering and exiting the environment. What it takes to win Love Island is really to be voted America's favorite couple. As much as I know the Islanders
For
would
those
love
of
that
you
money,
who are unfamiliar, I'll do like a little breakdown of how Love Island is set up. Because each of these shows, while ostensibly about the same thing, they're all formatted in their own unique way. So with Love Island UK, we start off with 5 guys, 5 girls, and they all couple up. We have recoupling ceremonies throughout the show. They're really insane challenges that I always hate watching. There's always so much drama. People get voted off the island. Sometimes they have to like vote each other off the island, and they never know like who's going to be dumped. There's something called Casa Amor, where like the guys go to a different house with an entirely new set of girls, and then the girls go to a different house with an entirely different set of guys.
Do they mingle
and
again after that?
Right, and it's like, are they gonna stay loyal to their couple that they're in, or are they gonna cheat? And then there's this whole thing of like, well, is it really cheating if we're not official? Like, we've just been talking nonstop for like 5 days, so like, what are we actually? And it's just so wild, and I love it. I started with Love Island UK season 5. If anyone out there hasn't watched Love Island UK before, that's always my recommendation. Start out with that because it has the most drama.
Okay.
And I love drama.
So I watched Love Island UK season 5. I really had never seen an episode before, but a lot of my friends are like, oh my God, Love Island, Love Island, Love Island. I was like, oh, perfect time to like get on this train, even though I haven't really loved love shows in the past. It's silly. I understand the appeal to it for real. Like, I'm not trying to dig it. I'm not trying to be like, who would watch this? Like, I get why it's entertaining. They're silly. They're funny. But I know why people go on Real Housewives. They want to be famous. They want to make money.
Of course.
But like the whole looking for love narrative, like, are you really looking for love? If you want to go on a TV show to find love, you probably just want to be famous.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I can't believe, I'm just like, really? You're looking like, it's so unbelievable to me. Again, to each their own. I'm sure it would be really fun. Like maybe I like have a lull in my career and I'm like, I want to go to an island and I just want to take a break for a few months and like just meet people. But of course I couldn't do that because there's no shows with gay people on them. It's all straight.
So, yep, exactly. That maybe is also a huge issue with all of these reality TV shows.
Yeah, that's my take. I understand the appeal,
valid.
But I think the same goes for every reality show. People go on it to be famous. And I will say I would love to be famous. Like I don't blame them for wanting to be famous, but I just like I don't need to fall in love and be famous. Like I'll
I get
just
that.
Live my life. I like the shows that they just follow their life around.
Yeah. I understand that. I think the interesting thing with Love Island specifically is a lot of the people who come on are often already like models or influencers, so they're in the public arena already, and then they kind of hop onto the show. But I often find like the most fascinating people on the show to be like this was either Love Island UK or Australia, but there was a guy who was literally like a farmer, and he was on the show, and like a lot of the people on there were like kind of making fun. They weren't making fun of him, but they clearly come from the city. And, you know, it's interesting whenever you actually do have real people who come off as real on the show, because then you follow it on like Twitter, X, and you see people who are like creating a celebrity out of the person on the show who comes from a background that the average viewer probably relates to more than the model who's wearing like a Cartier bracelet every day with her bathing suit. And so, I don't know, I think it's fascinating seeing the dynamics between people. The other thing about Love Island that I didn't mention is they record 24/7. And every single day is recorded. And we see only like little bits of each day. And Aidan, when you were watching it, you texted me, you said there are 58 episodes in this season.
That's a crazy season amount.
Yeah, because we see every day that they're on the island.
That's like the Bold and the Beautiful, like the Days of Our Lives episode. Like, it's like a soap opera.
It is.
Like, there's just an episode every day.
And so that's the other interesting thing is how real is it? Sure, we see every day, but then it's edited to such a specific way to create a storyline by the producers. And they do a fantastic job doing it. But I mean, I get what you mean by, you know, people get on these shows to be famous, and how likely is it that they actually find love? There are people from season 5 who are
still together.
They recently had a baby. I've been following them on Instagram.
So people do stay together.
Yeah, very few.
Very few.
Very few. But it does happen sometimes.
One thing that I will say about those love shows is Love Island, okay, I understand the premise. It's nice, hot people on an island.
Yeah.
But I like the ones that it's like a little bit of a twist. It's like, oh, you came here to find love, but we're not just going to plop you in a bikini and feed you margaritas on the beach. We're going to make it a little bit more of a social experiment. Enter Love is Blind.
Love is Blind.
Never seen her before. Here, you will choose someone to marry.
Hello.
Nice to hear from you. Can't say see ya without ever seeing them.
24/7. If you're ready to find the love of your life,
Game time.
the pods are now open.
Love is Blind was one of those shows for anybody who was living under a rock in the beginning of the pandemic. Was really popular. I watched it because it was March of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I had nothing else to do. It was like the Tiger King era. And I was like, oh, let me watch this. Everybody's talking about it. Love is Blind is like a social experiment show where men and women looking for love, who have trouble finding love. Basically, similar premise as Love Island, except you can't see each other when you're meeting each other. So it starts out where you're in these two rooms. You can't see the girl on the other side of the glass screen. And you just talk, conversation. It's falling in love with the personalities. And then at the end of that little, I don't know how long that process takes, but you get engaged to someone. And then you see them for the first time after you're engaged. And then you go and live together in an apartment that they get you. And then you meet each other's friends and family, and you get back together with the other people from the show. And it's just trying to answer that age-old question, is love actually blind? Which is so interesting in this day and age when everybody's on social media and everybody's tailoring their appearance and really curating how they want to be perceived to take appearance out of it. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, on Love is Blind?
I, like you, watched a lot of it during the pandemic. I think where it loses me is the fact that they get married.
It's 0 to 60.
They lose me at the marriage aspect of this.
Yeah.
I think if we went from that to dating and not resulting in a proposal, then I might be a bit sold. Because they do that whole reveal in that room where they you see the shadow of the person,
the silhouette,
and then the
curtain gets lifted and they walk to each other, sometimes hesitantly,
because they're kind of like whoa.
It's like, you know how when you have when we were wearing masks everywhere a couple years ago, and people would take down their mask and their bottom half did not look like how you picture it. It's like that, but their whole face.
But their voice now. Now you're mad that the voice doesn't match.
Yeah, it's like, so I don't know what I would do if I was on that show, but
yeah, I like the value that it is built upon.
Yeah.
Not judging a book by its cover, etc. I do think that in the age of social media and online dating, that's what you're doing. Online dating is the opposite of Love is Blind.
For real.
The direct opposite. So for our daily lives to be the opposite of the show, it is very fascinating to see how this experiment works out. I think it's good to have a show out there to show us what it's like doing the opposite of that, taking us back to the olden days. One might say they should write each other letters, but then you would maybe judge someone based on their penmanship. I would.
What type of paper they use. Oh my God, did you see the type of paper that Rodney sent me in the mail yesterday?
He has such an old quill, I can tell from the point.
The stamp wasn't the right color for me. He didn't have his family crest.
The right crest. I was going to talk about crests. That was huge. See how we did that? No, they don't do that in Love is Blind. And that's why I hate it. And, maybe this is why they have the statistic that 50% of marriages end in divorce, because people get married on reality TV shows now.
That's so true. There's a Housewives rumor that every time that a housewife does their vow renewals on the show, they always get divorced. It's happened 5 times.
Really?
I'm like, Shannon, don't get a vow renewal on the show. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
But I digress about that.
So, Too Hot to Handle is another classic of this era of pandemic. The pandemic really drew out some crazy shows.
Yeah.
I think because we didn't have a reality to live in.
We were living in reality TV.
Exactly. So we lived in reality TV, which I get.
This retreat is full of the sexiest people in the world.
little quesadillas? What's happening?
I would rate myself a 10 out of 10.
Bring that here, reel it in. This is literally...
So, Too Hot to Handle, I feel, is a... Oh, God, the premise of this honestly kind of makes me mad. It's a group of, again, insanely attractive, hot people who don't really have success in their love lives, whatever, and they're deeply sex positive, euphemism for horny, and they get onto the show thinking that they're going on a Love Island type show. Yeah. They get there and then they find out by a little
Lana,
by Lana,
I think
fake
that's her
Alexa.
name.
Yeah, it's Lana.
I'm Lana.
Plot twist.
Go team. There are conditions to your stay
Lana
here.
tells them, hey, so if you
kissing
don't
or
have
sex
sex
of
for
any kind.
8 weeks, I want to say, something like that, you can win $100,000. And that's a problem for people. They're like, oh no, how am I gonna get through all this time? Yeah. You have a pile of money in front of you. How is this any type of a conflict in your mind?
I don't know. It could never be me, but every time that they do get intimate, like they kiss, they hug, cha-ching, cha-ching goes down.
Right.
Which I was talking to a friend about this, and she wasn't happy with that people are being basically shamed and punished for wanting to be intimate or physical, which I think is such a natural thing. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with being a horny or like sexually active person. To each their own. It was an interesting premise, but that show did make a lot of celebrities, I will say. What's his name? Harry Jowsey? He's like on Dancing with the Stars now. Francesca dated Bella Thorne.
Yeah, which is, again, I think it's very fascinating how these shows kind of lend to the creation of celebrity.
Yeah.
I do understand the point that they're trying to make of like, okay, it's not all sex in a relationship. We should value other things. Mm-hmm. Can this message be kind of spread to these people who don't seem to rely on emotional intimacy? My take from watching the show is maybe not, but that's also okay. Like, we don't have to force people to, like, if that's how they want to live their lives, who are we to tell them, oh, you should value this instead of that? Which I think is what the show is kind of doing.
It's definitely a lot to unpack. I feel like it tells a lot about our society and what we value. I was talking with the same friends that I was talking to earlier about this, because it's fun to, we were studying for this class together. And they were saying that it really gives you an inside look into just like human nature. Like, we're not on the show. Yeah, we're not doing all this stuff. But you can identify with what they're doing, like, oh, that person got jealous of that person. Oh, that got overprotective of that person. Like, even though it's a very simplified version of it, you're still like, oh, like, yeah, I would do that. Like, don't talk to my man, don't talk to my girl, like, don't do that. And it's also like, it's interesting to see that when you're in the real world, modern dating and relationships, there's so much more that goes on. When you're on those shows, the whole entire context of everything and the environment is all taken away. Like, it's all a controlled variable. Right. Like, if you go on a date with someone, you go to a restaurant, you might notice how they interact with the waiter, or what they order. Like, it's like there's so many different things that go into dating when you're in the real world and not on a beach that just aren't like that. It's a very like simple way of looking at it, but still real. I feel like there's still natural emotions.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Out of all of these shows, again, I feel like Love Island is naturally the most real for me because we get to see their very everyday reactions to things. I like that the decision is kind of more in their hands of who to talk to. For me, sure, at times did it feel staged? Yeah, whatever. But I felt like the love between them and the anger and the fights and the passion, like it was something, it felt real. Watching it on the screen. And it was something that I enjoyed. It's interesting how people kind of present themselves on
these shows.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be the best version of themselves. I had to watch this show called An American Family in a class 2 years ago, back when I was in college. And we watched the show, and people call it the first reality TV show. It was in the 70s. It was started out as like an ethnographic takeover where this guy was just following this random family in the 70s in California with cameras, sort of like the Kardashians, but nobody knew that this was going to be a show.
Yeah, like, as Barry said, I guess I want to be a superstar, but I really can't work for it. I really, I have all these clothes and but I don't have the ideas behind them.
One boy is the greatest con artist you ever saw.
And it was so controversial because the couple ended up getting divorced, which wasn't shown on TV back then. One of their kids came out as gay and moved to New York, and they showed like drag queens on this show, and they called it the first reality show. And the family didn't realize that they were going to be famous. Like they did it because they thought it was a study, but then they got projected into the fame. But nowadays, the people who do it, they're like, oh, that's what
they do it for the
fame. Like,
yeah.
And again, nothing wrong with wanting to be famous.
No.
To each their own. Not trying to dig people who are on reality shows because you offer a lot of entertainment and pleasure for me.
Oh, absolutely.
But at the end of the day, you just want to be a little famous.
Yeah.
Which is totally okay.
The reality part of the reality show might be. Yeah, exactly. One last thing that I do always think about when it comes to these shows is like the representation and kind of lack thereof. With Love Island UK and with all of these shows, I rarely see like an Indian person on it, or barely see any people of color.
Or if you do, then they're always paired together.
Yeah, which again, I just find...
Or voted off first.
And that typically happens. And I don't know how that hasn't changed. Because each season I see the same patterns happening.
The first episode of Love is Blind, a guy's talking to this girl and he can't see her and he's like, "Are you black? You sound like you're black."
Right.
You have a black...
I remember that.
Like, what? And she was like, this is the whole point of the experiment. Like, we can't
That's what we're trying to avoid.
Literally. But I don't know if there's... Also, like we mentioned this earlier, but they're very straight shows. But are there any shows? Have they come out with any that are like...
Well, I'm glad you mentioned this because there's a show called Are You the One?
Change, come on. Yo, while the daters are gone, we have a little career party going on right now.
It's Justina and Brenda.
No, I think we can't do Brenda. I don't want Brenda.
And that's a love reality TV show that I also love. And I'm 98% sure that that's the show. But they have one season where it's all queer people. And so like it was very fantastic to watch. That's one that I recommend. But again, that is the only one that I can think of. Out of all of these shows, there's so many. There's so many dating reality TV shows, and there's only one season of one show. Like, it's not even the point of the show. They were like, oh, here's a different way of doing it, which is good that we have one, but...
It tells something about our society as a whole that we just like seeing conventionally attractive white people
I know.
on our... Which, hey, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you feel like you have a completely different philosophy from these shows? Are you afraid of dating, knowing that this is kind of what's happening?
I mean, I don't think I have anything other than the usual just self-consciousness that goes into that and putting yourself out there like that. But it definitely teaches me what I don't want in a relationship.
Yes.
And sometimes what I do. Like, it's like, oh, like, now I know not to do that. Even though that might have been scripted, that might have been staged, but I still don't like it.
Yeah. Going back to something I said earlier, I love watching these shows because it is kind of a lens into a reality that I don't relate to. I don't relate to a hot person. I should end my sentence there. No, I don't relate to a hot person on an island, like meeting a bunch of people and then getting into all this conflict. It's not something that I feel is reflected in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that, like, exactly what you said, I will see all these guys, and I am a straight woman, so I think that's maybe also why I feel like I can watch these shows. I can kind of feel represented in that way, in a way that others might not be able to. So I watch these shows and then I see these relationships play out. Sometimes the things that happen, like things that the guys say, I'm like, oh, this is something that sounds familiar to me.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's a relationship dynamic. The girl is maybe calling the guy out a lot and the guy doesn't really like it. And then I'll watch it and I'll be like, huh, interesting. I've seen this movie before in my own life. It's like,
I've seen this film before.
And I didn't like the ending. I'm 22.
People our age are married. It's okay to think about
true.
marriage.
Oh my gosh. So that's the other thing is people on these shows are often our age.
That shook me to my core when I was watching Love Island. I was like, you are 30, man. And then it's like, I'm 20 years old and I own a sandwich shop. And I'm like, oh my God.
How is that happening?
You look like, I feel like I would look like a child if I went on
I know,
those
like
shows.
these people actually, like they look great. They do look older than 21, but there are 21-year-olds on the show. And I'm like, I am older than you. Also, how do your parents feel about this?
I wonder that, like, how do the family members think about their family members going on reality TV? I know that it's been a topic on Housewives. Some families are not like, oh, like, why are you airing our dirty laundry? Or like, oh, it would be interesting if my child took home a person like, oh, Mom, Dad, this is my fiance. We just met a week ago and I just saw her for the first time yesterday.
I know.
Be like, oh, the generations these days are crazy.
Ugh.
Back in my day, we just, swiped on the old Tinder. But
I can't.
Yeah.
It's an interesting world that we've created.
It really is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope everyone out there who has watched these shows, maybe you relate to things that we've said. We'd love to hear what you guys think about reality TV shows. Like I said, this is, I think, a very fraught topic.
Yeah, and maybe you hated everything we said, or maybe you're
Right.
like me and you just love the Housewives, or maybe you hate the Housewives, or maybe you love Love Island UK, but maybe you hate it, but maybe you love it.
Yeah. And I want to know the answers to all
Me
of those
too.
questions.
I do too.
Well, we hope you enjoyed class.
Yes. We will send
was a
out
good
the syllabus later this week.
Yeah.
Make sure
you
to do.
Oh, we're about to say the same thing again. This is huge. Yeah, make sure you do the readings for next week.
Next week. We will. There might be a pop quiz. There may not. Do
There
they do
might
that
be
in
a pop
college?
quiz.
I don't think I had a pop quiz in college.
I did.
Oh.
I didn't like it.
Well, study up.
Study up,
Open
guys.
note, though. Open note.
It is always open note, so
now.
don't worry.
Open note. You got this.
Yeah. Speaking of open note, that's something that we we love open note. We're not experts.
No.
In any of this.
I have a degree in anthropology and journalism.
I studied economics. I can't tell you a thing about the economy. And
this is just our thoughts as two young people who consume a lot of media.
Right. And those listening, I assume you are also a person who consumes a lot of media.
Or
And
young. Or maybe you're not young. And
Yeah.
we don't have an age restriction here.
We don't have an age
We
restriction.
love people of all ages. Yeah. Oh, Golden Bachelor. Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
Golden Bachelor was another. I was thinking that was in the back of my
It's
mind.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Banterly is an Immigrantly production and will be released weekly on Wednesdays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Banterly is produced by Shay Yu, written by us, the co-hosts, Aditi Misra and Aidan Taylor. The executive producer and editorial review is done by Sadia Khan, and the Banterly theme music is by Simon Hutchinson. Other music is by Epidemic Sound. Our sound designer and editor for this episode is Ellery Groff. Thank you for joining us this week. See you next week.
See you next time.